Greetings, humans. I'm George. Welcome back to the Windmill full of corpses. And I am joined by the wielder of low frequencies in Cryptosis. Thank you, Frank, for joining. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you. How are you?
Very good. Now in great company, too. Thanks for joining. So I've known you guys now for a bit over a year. I think I've also caught you live. I've seen how you guys work. But for everyone watching who might not be familiar with you and with Cryptosis yet, tell me a bit about who is Cryptosis, what's your mission, why should people have you on their radar?
We are an extreme metal band from the Netherlands. We blend basically every style: progressive, black, death, thrash, and it sounds big. More is more, and cinematic. Basically, that are the main influences that you can hear.
Okay, great. So I wanna go like back in time to your roots and come to the present moment. So let's go to your origins. How did your love for music appear, and how did you decide that this is something that you are going to pursue professionally?
I was pretty young. My dad has a guitar and amp at home, and so there were some books with music. I started, just playing around with it. Not something really good, but just like start to get like interest in it. Then at some point I started getting into like more wild extreme bands like Metallica, Slipknot, Korn. Like these things that were on the radio at the late 90s. At some point, I was in high school. I had a friend in my class who also played guitar. So we, started playing around. He was a lot better than me, but, I still had a lot of fun. I started playing in local bands. One thing led to another. Many years fast forward, I met Lawrence and we started this band. Then after 1 year, one other friend of mine quit this band who played drums to pursue a career in making music professionally for films and TV series. And then we found Marco, which we already know by then, to play drums. And from there on, we just started touring Europe with the Factor, Metal Church, Pestilence. Then fast forward pandemic, we had a new album. We released it on Century Media, and that's basically when we became a Cryptosis.
Okay, so I've been on the Metal Archives, and I know that before you were Cryptosis, which essentially started in 2020, you actually went for the name of Distillator from 2013, and you had some more traditional thrash metal sounding stuff with that band. So why did the band name have to change? Why did Distillator have to die for Cryptosis to be born? Was that purely a rebrand, or did it reflect changes that you had that had deeper meaning artistically for you guys?
Yeah, we felt that we couldn't really express ourselves musically with this name. Like if you see the poster with this name, it screams old school 80s trash, and the logo and everything. So we thought like we had been doing it for a while. We have been thinking already about it for like 2 years, and we're like, it doesn't really fit what we want to do. Like we couldn't move freely in terms of like musical and stylistic ways. So we thought like, okay, fuck it. We just go for it. Then we had the Bionic Swarm album, which is the first Cryptosis album. Well, it was mainly written, as a Distillator album, because back then we still didn't have the name changed. So we sent it out to record labels, and just like a SoundCloud link which says like no band name and just the songs and a photo of us. And then Central Media got in contact with us because our previous manager, he just sent it to them and said like, hey, this could be something interesting for you. So at some point we had a record contract with a really big record company, but it still didn't state any name because we didn't have any. Mm-hmm. So we started talking about it, say like, okay, fuck it, let's just do it. And when we have a backup from such a big label, we can start pushing the new band already with such big support. And we believe we can make it. We can turn it into something that we, like if you have to start a band from the beginning, it's really hard because basically no one knows who the fuck you are. So we thought, okay, if we have this, backed up by central media, we are confident this is gonna work out, and we just started doing it.
Yeah, people are gonna know who you are even if you don't bring your own fan base to the label.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into the actual music and your sound. So to me, if I had to describe your sound, I'd say that if you take bands like Obscura, Beyond Creation, Fallujah, these sort of sci-fi themed death metal bands, you guys have kind of done that for thrash metal. So what do you make of that sort of comparison, and how would you describe your sound more accurately?
Yeah, I think the three of us as band members, we are listening to totally different music.
Mm-hmm.
Like our drummer Marco listens to like really old school stuff, Motorhead, AC/DC, like this straightforward, pulse music. But he's also a fan of Porcupine Tree, let's say. Lawrence, our guitar plays more like Symphony X, Opeth, like this really guitar-oriented music. I'm personally more into like atmospheric stuff like black metal, but also a lot of electronic music, Massive Attack, Klaus Schulze, like all these different kinds of things. And, when we make music together, it's just a blend of all these three, different personas, and something unique comes out, like every one of us puts their own fingerprint on the music, and then something happens. And I don't really hear thrash metal anymore in our new album. I hear a lot of black metal, but I also hear like some death, some prog. So yeah, it's like we're a bit of an outsiders. Like we are outsiders of the thrash metal scene, of the death metal scene, of black. Like we don't belong anywhere, yet we can play on every festival because we have some, matches with these genres. So it's a double-edged sword.
Okay, that's really cool. I can definitely see that coming together, because I can definitely hear, like, with the sound design that you have on the second album, these more electronic influences come in and a lot of more black metal-y sounding things. But then a lot of the guitar riffing is still this very super fast, tight playing. Yeah. With the sort of bands that you mentioned. One specific thing that caught our attention, me and my brother's attention, when we were doing the recent reactions about your sound, is that you actually play pretty mid to high register, and you always play fast. And you kind of do this in a scene where what I see being most popular these days is bands that just want to really play groovy and low. So it feels like you're going against the tide in a way. Have you felt that causes any difficulties for you? Like, was that ever on your mind that you're doing something that's maybe not as trendy?
No, we're not aware of this. We just do whatever we want and whatever we think is nice music, and this really low tune stuff, it might be trendy, but it's also boring as fuck, because there's hardly any melody in this music, everything sounds more or less the same. Like I couldn't even understand what band is this, what I'm listening to, like it's just too much of the same. And for me, personally, it's really boring. And I hear these bands are really good, but it's really repetitive.
I like a lot. I like a lot of the new wave stuff, but I've more recently also started feeling the energy more from the ancestors as well, and I feel like your tastes are probably more in that direction.
Yeah, definitely. It's a music that we grew up with, and I see what these modern bands are doing, but it's just like, it's not something for me. And also, I know from a fact that Lawrence and Marco are also not fans of this kind of style. So automatically, we just don't, use this like low-tuned stuff. Like we are more into melody and atmosphere.
Okay, let's also get a bit into the concept part of what you guys do. Are you guys big on sci-fi stuff in culture, in movies, in books, and stuff like that? Are you fans of that type of things?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. We're mostly fans of this series Black Mirror in Netflix. This type of stuff, The Matrix, this kind of really mainstream stuff, but it has really good really good concepts. Also, I know this film Arrival. Maybe you know it. It has really like if you look at the sci-fi movies, usually like aliens are described or shown like this really typical ID that you have. But in this film, like it's like these alien life forms, like they are so different from what you have seen in in regular mainstream books and films. Like this kind of stuff that's really interests me.
Okay, that's really cool, and that definitely connects into how your music and concepts sound. So I before we really get into Celestial Death, I want to go back to Bionic Swarm a bit. So
All right.
can you tell me a bit about the concept for that album?
The concept of that album is basically a concept album. It plays in the year 2149. Every song is a different story from a different perspective, describing that futuristic world, like things that they see, things that they do, things that happens around them. Yeah, that's basically in a nutshell what it's about.
Okay, are the stories like linked in a single narrative? Like, is it a concept album in the way that prog albums are concepts, where it's a linear story, or is it just like a collection of?
It's a collection of stories, first person view stories.
Okay, what I noticed as a common thread between those is this mention of like viruses, like computer viruses almost, but it being linked to like human brains, like almost like an internet virus that spreads to people's minds. That seemed to be like a running theme through there.
Yeah, not really, but okay. Yeah, I can see, based on the artwork, that this is the direction of your thinking.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm always curious and intrigued about this concept stuff that bands do. So I try to dig into that a little more than I see other people do it in interviews.
All right, yeah. Well, I can explain a bit more. Like, for example, this song, "A Prospect of Immortality," that we have, it's basically about a person who gets locked up in like this kind of mental health facilities where they say like, okay, like you are diagnosed with this kind of disease, but this person says like, no, I'm not. So it gets like this person gets like taken hostage in this situation. And this song is basically like a suicide note, but because we have so much, like AI and video and all this stuff, like it already can see like, okay, this person is gonna commit suicide, and we are gonna do everything to prevent it. So basically, this person is in a constant loop of life without being able to break out of it. So that's like one of the lyrics. Whereas. I think the song Transcendence, I think this one is a bit more like the idea that you have. Like basically it's about like you can upload thoughts and ideas into a cloud, and it's only like this cloud exists only like of like really intelligent people, like world leaders, people who like engineers that came up with like really good stuff. And you can just log in and download this stuff into your own brain. Like this is basically what this song is about.
Yeah, that's basically what they do in the Matrix to learn kung fu.
I know kung fu.
Yeah.
And when I first saw that, it also kind of reminded me of the movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp, where that's literally what he does, uploads his identity into a computer.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's get to the new stuff. That's the really cool stuff. And the reason I brought up Bionic Swarm is because it might be just me, and I might be off on this one too, but I felt like maybe there's a conceptual or narrative link between the two.
It's more like with this album, it's more like the concept is more like we took it back from a distant future to now. Like we are at a time where concepts like AI, for example, once were like really futuristic ideas, and now like every kid in school uses them, and it is only a technology that we are only using for like the last 30 years, like. So we are really in the baby, steps of where this new time that we have entered is going, and so basically this new album talks more about like identity, like what is your identity in this world, or Song Faces Matter. Basically, is about like a world where everyone gets like news and information through the same media companies. Like you wear clothes from the same multinational brands. This kind of stuff. Like everyone starts to think the same, wear the same, and this song deals about like what is your identity in this world? Like where is the authenticity?
Yeah, I feel like we live in a world where what used to be concepts for sci-fi movies is slowly trickling down into the real world.
Yeah.
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 On the one hand, that's cool because like we live in the future, but it's also not that cool when you think of all the dystopian problems that come with that.
Yeah, and there's no rules or regulations, about this stuff. And many of these lawmakers, they don't actually have any clue at all about, what is this technology? What can it, potentially do? Or, what benefits does it have? But also what downsides it has. Like they don't know shit about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, they can't make any rules or regulations because they just don't, grasp the idea.
Yeah, but that's kind of an eternal problem because those who do the regulations and those who are the experts will never be the same people. Yeah. So how do you bridge that gap?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let's get into the singles and the videos you've had so far. I'm really interested in how do you depict concepts visually. So in Faceless Matter, you have like this face that's kind of trying to talk through a wall and can't break through. And also you have somebody looking into a mirror and her face kind of gets distorted. So tell me a bit about those parts of the video. What do those mean?
Yeah, well, like when you shoot a video clip, you have to work with a certain budget. So, you're going to start thinking really big and then you're going to make it small and, fit the budget. So what we actually did was we had only one day to film the band and the storyline. So, like we also in our previous album we had like some stuff that was really clear, what we wanted to show, and for this album we wanted to go a bit more with a more abstract approach, So yeah, for Faceless Matter, like this girl is basically the protagonist of the story, and in the beginning you see her, all looks all good and like a nice looking girl, and then the song progress and into further and further, and the music also become like more intense, and you see her emotion also getting along with this, like she at the end she gets like really fucked up, and that's basically what we wanted to to show with this video.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can we go through the same pattern for Reign of Infinite?
Reign of Infinite deals about the song deals about the idea that there's a new god, like Christianity, Islam, all this stuff, but then no one ever came up with something new, and like we have some technology and it came up with something new. So this song is written from the viewpoint of this technology, like you can, if you read the lyrics, you can also see at some points we give away these clues. So we wanted to have this also visually, like people are getting like hypnotized by religion, by this new religion, and that's what we try to put into the video. Whereas this skull basically resembles the the god, and Lawrence as the singer, singing these lyrics, he's like acting like he's controlling this god. That's basically what this video is about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I also like that it unintendedly shouts out our props on the channel.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the sound, obviously you don't really, you've already said you don't see yourself as a thrash metal band anymore. What would you say are the main points of evolution between Bionic Swarm and Celestial Death?
Whereas Bionic Swarm was really focused on intense guitars, really over the top, showing off, how fast we can play, how intricate shit we can play, how, like it was basically an album to show off. Whereas we have been playing a lot of shows with it, and we got bored with it at some point, and then we started writing new music. Whereas we wanted to incorporate more like symphonic stuff, like we wanted to write songs that were actually songs instead of a collection of intense guitar riffs. So this is basically the big difference between the two albums. Like it has more melody, more atmosphere, it's more cinematic. It's a lot darker, I would say.
You've also put out the silent call in between them, and I felt like that was maybe like a demo phase testing for where the sound could go. Because the orchestral stuff come in and you get a little of the elements that came in full bloom on Celestial Death already back there.
Yeah, we got to play the 70 tons of metal cruise in Miami, and there we met Stefan of Obscura, and he said like, yeah, I'm a big fan of your band. I really like what Cryptosis is doing. I'm trying to set up a tour with Cynic. Do you guys want to be a part of that? And we said, yeah, fuck yeah, amazing. These two bands. So at that time we were like writing already quite a lot of new material. So we said like, why not put one song out and then we can test the waters, live. Like, how can we make it happen live? With all these orchestras, how does it, sound? How was people's reaction to it? This kind of stuff. So we put that song. Then we had another song that was left out from the album. And we had two songs that we recorded during our concert in Greece, in Athens. And, since it was such a special night for us and, like the crowd was really wild, we just put it on an EP and we just released it before the tour.
Yeah, I was really happy to get to hear that live myself. When that one comes in with a big orchestra and it's slow at first, it really creates this kind of suspense before the chaos comes in. So that makes it so much more impactful than if the really fast stuff is happening all the time.
Yeah, exactly. This is also one of the songs that we thought like it would fit really well with our old music in the set list. It's a moment that is like, okay, time to cool off a bit and then go intense again.
Okay. Also about the new album, I was reading in the press release that I got from Century Media that you guys said it's more personal to you. So what would you say are some of the songs that you connect with on this album most?
Yeah, Faceless Matter, definitely. Static Horizon as well. It's about like a person who basically gave up fighting for like his cause. Like you just can't win. Like just give up. And that's a song that connects with us. We have been in a constant struggle for like social media. Like it's almost impossible to get through to promote your art, your music. It's getting more and more difficult these days with the algorithms, on Spotify. It's you hardly get paid, but you put in so much time, work, money, and it just doesn't. Like you don't have to do it for the money, and we do it for passion. But it's becoming harder and harder, even if it was already hard, So that song, connects really well with that, I think. Let me think about what else do we have. Yeah, I think these two are I think connects the most.
Yeah, Static Horizon is really cool like that. I feel like that's pretty cool reflected in the video too, because you have somebody basically drowning in water and smoke. So, and also I filmed the reaction for that with my brother literally like an hour ago, and I hadn't seen the video beforehand. You also have like the person in the video kind of blowing out smoke and that covers her face. And is that a call out to the album cover where you see someone's face being erased?
Yeah, it's a nice similarity, I think, yeah.
Oh, right. Give me 1 second. Let's see what else I've got here. Okay, now you're credited for doing the synths and sound design. So tell me a bit about how what you were going for with that, because what I can say about the synths is it takes me directly on the Nostromo, if you know what that is.
Yeah, when we finished the Bionic Swarm, I got like when we work on something, like we really work on something, it's like tunnel vision. You don't see anything else anymore. It's just only the work that you do. We spent like shitload of hours on our music, and after the project is finished, like you send it out to mixing studios, like you're a bit done, because you have been into it so long, like for 2-3 years, like all the time. So then I just play around, with some ambient music with my synthesizer. I just, record some stuff that, never sees the light of day, but it's just for me to release a bit of this tension, So at some point I just was like, this is actually really nice. perhaps, like I have a lot of material, but I never released it. Perhaps I can, include this kind of sounds with the new Cryptosis material. And when we started songwriting, I just started, putting some ideas and some stuff. And then when Lawrence was here to write music with me, I said like, hey, well, this is a cool part, but maybe we can add some synths. What do you think? And we just start, like playing around with it a bit and see where it goes. And he said like, oh, this sounds really nice. So we should do it more in different songs too. So that's basically how it started. And, once you start, more is more. And, we have songs that have at some point like synthesizer, like multiple synthesizer layers, orchestra, choirs, and then, guitar, bass, drums, vocals. It's intense, but it takes a lot of time to write these songs, because previously you just had to write guitar and bass, and now you have like 6 more instruments that you can add more colors to different parts of the song. And it's sometimes it's a bit overwhelming if you have the whole song, and at some points we even just cut out some stuff because it was just too much.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I get that on the sound design and synth part, you didn't meet a lot of resistance from your metal-focused bandmates?
No, yeah, Marco, like he's a bit more old school. In the beginning, he was like, do we really need this? We can play very well ourselves. I said, well, it just adds more to the atmosphere. And then we had some more demos and he really liked it. So from there on, we went on with it. But also a band like Demi Borgir is a band that the 3 of us really like, so it wasn't that far away from our comfort zone anyways.
Yeah, I could hear some of those elements, especially some of those was like more whispery, low vocals coming in over atmospheric parts. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I always leave for the end of the interviews the question that unless I get answers for, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night. So I was reading through what you guys did for this album, and in your credits, it says that you do bass, backing vocals, synths, and mellotron. So I need to ask you, what in the name of everything that is AI generated is a mellotron, and what is it doing on an extreme metal album?
You don't know what a mellotron is?
No, I thought of Googling that, but I figured it's probably more fun to hear it from you.
Oh, man. A mellotron is already being used since, the 60s. Beatles, Rolling Stones, The Animals, like these really old school bands. They already used it. It's basically like a piano keyboard kind of thing. It sounds pretty lo-fi. Opeth, Stephen Wilson, they also use it a lot. It has a really weird, eerie sound. Like if you hear it, you immediately recognize it. You can have it as a standalone unit that you can play the keys like a piano. But there's also a company who Electro Harmonics is called from the United States, and they basically put it in a stomp box to play this sound with your guitar or with your bass, and that's how I use it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Then that would be all. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining me here in the realm of the undead. And I'll probably see you at some show, maybe in the not too distant future. So,
man, that would
all
be
the best
amazing.
with the band.
Thank you so much.